Hello, fellow hitchhikers. Today we're looking at a project called Chibi Clash. I came across it during the last whitelist process for minting what were called citizens. They had a game, like an endless runner game, that you had to get a certain score. You could submit the score and then qualify for a whitelist. It was a unique way of qualifying for a whitelist. It hasn't turned into a huge project by any means, but it's definitely showing some significant potential, something that I'm enjoying being involved with, enjoying following the journey of it, and a pretty solid community that's there. So anyways, of course, not financial advice, those kind of things, but definitely something I think worth following or learning from. I'm going to go through it and show you some of the things that I've learned so far and where we're at and where things are going, and let me know if you have anything to add or any mistakes that I make. Okay, so Chibi Clash, it's on the Polygon network. It had a few iterations of vision, I suppose I would say, like many things. Axie Infinity, the beginning of it, kind of inspired the idea of having a Web3 based game with player economy, ownership, and those kind of aspects. But of course, as we saw with Axie and other things, as things grow, they have to be able to scale, and some things don't scale very well, or some things can't scale very quickly. Most things can't. Anyways, and so there's been changes and iterations along the way, and I think that's a positive thing with Chibi Clash. So as you go through, you'll see there's various iterations of history as different ideas have evolved and morphed, but all of it very transparent with the community, and all of it in a good direction. So let's go through the journey so far. They have some background for the different characters. There's 6 different factions, and they have this vision of making an auto battler, kind of a turn-based, card-based, attribute-based auto battler, but it's not limited to that by any means, and definitely going to be utilizing the technology of the blockchain. So being able to have player-owned assets and so on. There's a vision to have a free-to-play version. There's also a vision to have something for every player. Now, this is something I've seen in a few other projects that I like. I like the idea that, that you'll have something for the crafter, you'll have something for the miner, you'll have something for the farmer, you'll have something for the battler, you'll have the player versus adventure lore side, you'll have the player versus player, which is all great, but really, really hard to develop and takes a tremendous amount of resources. But the vision is there, and the ideas are there, and they seem to be coming from a place of experience with Web 2, which when we go into the team later on and so on. But anyways, Web 3 based, an auto battler at its core, with some side missions and some idea with the factions. If you go back to what was originally created, it was originally created on Ethereum before they moved to Polygon, and they had some things called seals, I believe. I think what happened is the original characters that were on Ethereum, you could exchange them or submit them and get a seal in exchange. I'm not fully clear on that, but anyways, if you have one of these seals, and there's jade, wood, and bronze, they all act the same. They're just sort of cosmetically different. They would entitle you to the airdrop of the legends that would happen on Polygon or something like that. But anyways, having one of these seals would enable you to receive airdrops and possibly future airdrops. So I've collected, of course, one of each. There's only 3. The price was low enough, and maybe just for novelty or whatnot, but that was the process for airdrops. And you got these legends. Now, these were the original sort of main characters, avatar, if you will. In the last AMA that I heard, an interview with one of the other Discord communities, can't remember which one, one of the questions came up about the role of these legends. And it sounds like a key attribute is the weapon that these legends have. And so I want to show you, it's a little bit of a sidebar here, but I want to show you something. If you take a look at the weapons, you can go through each weapon and just see how many are for sale. None, none. And so these rare ones, they simply aren't for sale. Every now and then you'll find one for sale, and you can see the price, 0.22 ETH, which is beyond what I'm wanting to pay for a character right now, but it kind of gives you a sense or a baseline of at least where the market is. Only one for sale at 0.22. So now we're getting into things that have more than 100 of them. 0.29, okay. Half. So it's odd. These are 0.5 ETH. They're more expensive, but less rare. So I would be more inclined to buy one of these more rare ones for 0.2 if a person really wanted to go in. Now, what I understood from this last little discussion was that the weapons that these have will enable you to have access to something that you wouldn't otherwise have. Not that it's like pay to win per se, but just that it enables you to experience or have access to things. And so having the variety of weapons is the way to go. This one here jumps out. I'll leave it on here. I don't have any ETH right now to be able to grab anything. But look at this, 0.03 for the Silver Spear, Chibi Legend 2566. Priced completely out of line with the other ones. 0.09 here, so it's 3 times as much. And same rarity, but it's still in that sub 176. And if I go to all of them, you can see the floor is basically 0.3. So this one here is a much more rare Chibi Legend in terms of weapon, which I think is going to be an important thing when the gameplay starts to come out. If I was looking to buy a Legend, this would be the one I would suggest getting. But I could be totally wrong. Maybe you got to look at some other attributes, whether they have angry eyes or not, or color of their hair or something. I don't know. But in terms of weapons, this one here jumps out for me. It's right there at the floor, and one of the more rare weapons. Okay, so those are the Legends. They're kind of like your main overarching lord kind of character. Then you go into the citizens. This is where I became involved sort of in the project somewhat. You can see that there's 5,500 Chibi citizens, 772 owners, so decent spread, but there's only 31 for sale. People are pretty committed to the project and holding on to their chibis. When you look at these, the ones to watch for in terms of the citizens are the soldiers. Now, what happened for a while, you could stake these citizens and generate a token called Shin. And with the Shin, you could mint more citizens. The original plan was to go to these items. I'll jump back to the website. So the Shin was going to be able to mint new citizens, but also be able to mint some items. What ended up happening is there was a bit of a discussion and kind of a vote. A separate channel opened up in the Discord just about whether or not we should continue along the path of just endlessly minting or emitting Shin for holders that have staked it, as there's going to be a bit of a delay as the project redefined its vision, which I can explain in a few minutes. But people kind of all agreed that there's no need to have just an endless emission, that sort of inflationary scenario of the token, and so they've gone a different direction with the Shin. So right now there's no new citizens being minted, at least first generation. There'll be new citizens in the next generation eventually. So you can see the floor is around 0.01, pretty low on getting the citizens. Now what you want to look for with the citizens is the class. So the farmer, the craftsman, and the trader. These three all are pretty equal / similar in both rarity and also in utility up to this point. These are the citizens that are doing things. Now obviously when we get to the point of a utility or a certain task, farmer, craftsman, trader are going to have different roles. But the one to look for is the soldier. Every now and then in a rare moon, you'll see a soldier that's priced sort of the same as the other ones at 0.1. Right now you can see they're 10 times more expensive. And that's because the soldier protects your citizens. And in exchange for that, takes a tax. It gets a portion of the tax. So when people are minting or claiming, there's a certain protection fee that gets taken, and that gets divided amongst the soldiers and somehow divided to the soldiers. I don't know if some goes to the treasury as well. I'm not fully sure on how all the tokenomics work. But basically, having a soldier protects your citizens and gives you a higher reward. As opposed to the legends, which lead your army, your quests, your campaigns in battle when battle comes. So right now the legends aren't doing very much. And the seals may qualify for future airdrops. I'm not fully sure. That would be something to look into. So that sort of shows you the three categories of NFT assets that have been created and have been minted up to this point. Now, they've kind of hit the pause, as I've said, on the Shin token emission. There is no Clash token. If you see a Clash token up there somewhere, it's a scam token. Follow the Discord, use official links, all that kind of stuff in order to know when it actually does come out. But what is coming in the next couple of weeks is an alpha version of the Auto Battler. And if you go onto the website, you'll see this pop-up box. Play the alpha. What's your name, warrior? And you can fill out a little bit of a survey to maybe be able to play the alpha. I'm hoping that this is the kind of scenario where if you hold a seal, then maybe you'll be able to play the alpha, or maybe it'll just go whoever has legends or whoever's active. I'm not exactly sure how the process will be, but that would be the kind of scenario where I can imagine the seals being used. Hoping it's going to come out within the next few weeks, maybe sometime in August 2022 here. That would be wonderful, and also give a sense of what the team is up to. But let's look at the roadmap. So in the roadmap, the legend begins, the missions commence, the champions arrive. This is what's happened. And then they kind of hit the pause, and we're looking at this Taste of Battle, Kingdoms Rising. But where they're looking at is a different way of looking at partnerships or collaborations. This idea of the metaverse. And what I get the feel is that instead of just, this endless whitelist shilling that you see happening in some of these other projects that have died, they're actually going to be looking at either other projects that are existing or other projects that are forming and saying, hey, maybe there's a way that our assets can be in your metaverse or your canon. Your assets can be in this one here, and we can kind of exchange. Maybe there's some sort of farming. I'm just making this up. This is an example, but some sort of farming game, and these citizens need to have access to the resources of the farm in that land, and they can also, maybe my soldier or something can provide protection for the citizens of that land. I don't know, some sort of crossover metaverse. You think of like what the Sandbox is doing and some of these other things where they're trying to create these multiple worlds, but here it would be these NFT assets taken elsewhere. I get the sense that's where they're going. I don't actually know for sure that's what's happening. Let's take a look at the Discord with some of the things they have in there. They did provide in June a little bit of a sneak peek play. It's very limited in what it's showing, but it at least is, you can see they are working on something. This would be kind of that minimum viable product. Just, can they actually make a game that's connected? I don't know if it'll be connected to blockchain or not, but can they actually make a game? So we can see, yep, they are actually at least working on something. And they've been very transparent about what they're doing and where the vision is and how things are shifting. Definitely not a selling one thing and then not delivering kind of scenario, and I've experienced that in other projects, but this one is more of a we're listening and learning to to what's happening, learning from other projects and evolving and changing in an appropriate way. They did create something else to sort of burn the Shin tokens. I like the idea. I'm participating a little bit, and that is in the NFT buy lucky tokens. So you can use your Shin if you have some, and then you can get these lucky tokens, and then these tokens will enable you to get a raffle ticket and then win actual tangible items. Right now it's for a mouse pad. I don't need a mouse pad, so I'm not going to use my lucky tickets for this one. I love the idea. I think it's great, and it's a collectible and super cool. T-shirt might get me super excited. So I'm currently not going to use up my tokens for the mouse pad. Looks like there's 200 entries left. 124 left out of the total of 200. There's 10 prizes. So anyways, it's a great idea. I like it. You can enter into a draw. I almost would prefer maybe less of a draw, more of a guaranteed, exchange 15,000 Shin and get a t-shirt or something. But this is good. They're trying things, they're doing things, and they're coming up with ways to have merchandise and burn the token that was generated. It's not even being generated right now, and they're already coming up with ways to burn it. So I like this. This is good that they're doing things. And their Discord is very responsive and active. Their main CEO and main team is on there and does respond and answer questions and is helpful with new people. I have kind of come in as a newcomer and asked my questions and probed and prodded and tried to figure out what's going on with the team, and they've all given very clear, straightforward answers. So on that note, who is the team? So they're doxed. It's a doxed team. They seem to be based out of Vancouver for the most part, but not only. There's also some in maybe Asia, or that was just where they were doing some conferences. And the main person is Ted Mui. He goes by Wagomon, based out of Vancouver. And the company that owns Chibi Clash, if you will, is Kuma Games. So you can look up Kuma Games on LinkedIn. Really, it's just outlining the people that are working on Chibi Clash. So some of the same names that you see there. So it seems to be one company that's working on one game, a flagship game called Chibi Clash. And this is an interesting recent announcement back in the end of May, right when they were tweaking and changing their vision from this sort of 2-token model auto battler to something that's a little bit more stable, is they raised $3 million from a few partnerships. Now, $3 million is not very much when it comes to developing a game in a whole world, but what does happen is when you get this funding from these various VCs or whatever you would call them, you get the networking effect that comes from that. You also, get that future support as different needs arise and so on. So perhaps future funding or future connection or staffing or people that can come in. So this was a good sign. I don't know these various VCs or partners that have joined in. I could maybe pursue more of these. I recognize a couple, which is maybe good, maybe bad. I don't know. I take it as a positive, though, that there's funds actually being put into it as they iterate and respond. They also have a fairly active Substack where they're providing states of the kingdom and updates on what they're working on and their philosophies and changes that are happening and so on. Overall, I am looking forward to Chibi Clash, and I'm looking forward to playing the alpha. I hope it comes out soon, maybe during end of July or middle of August, and I'm looking forward to playing it. And I'm also looking forward to seeing other things that this team is going to try and experiment with, and perhaps some other teams that they're going to join with. So wanted to take a few moments to just share Chibi Clash with you. A couple little tips there about some of the assets if you're wanting to get involved now. I think there's going to be a free-to-play version and some other ways to get involved, so definitely don't feel like you have to rush into it, spending anything, but maybe join the Discord, start listening to some of the announcements, follow them on Twitter, that kind of stuff. Ease your way in to get to know who the people are and what the vision is. I think there's lots of time. This is really, really early, but kind of feels like one to watch. Good team. So on that, I will sign off and remind you to keep track of your towels and do not panic.